whether the international military assault on Libya will bring an end to Muammar Gaddafi's regime. Admiral Mike Mullen says the mission could achieve its stated goals without forcing Gaddafi from power. U.S. officials have said the missile strikes and jet fighter patrols that started yesterday are meant to prevent Gaddafi from unleashing more violence on his own people. Meanwhile, senior military officials are also stressing that U.S. involvement in Libya is expected to last just a few days before Operation Command shifts to our European and Arab partners. I'm joined now by Democratic Congressman from Washington, Adam Smith. Representative Smith is a member of the House Armed Services Committee. And a good morning to you. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
Are you comfortable with all the information you've received ahead of this U.S. military action? Do you feel well briefed, well informed?
Not as well informed as I think Congress should have been on this. Obviously, this all happened fairly fast, given what was going on in Libya. But I do think Congress could have been better informed about the details of this. And I think, listening to your report this morning, it's very clear how many unanswered questions there are about exactly what we're trying to accomplish and exactly what we're committing to doing here. I think this puts us into a very unclear area, and part of it has been heard this morning from the head of the Arab League that, they're concerned about the casualties involved here. This is what you have to do in order to impose a no-fly zone. And even, last week I was very worried about all the dialogue about how we needed to do this, impose a no-fly zone, and very little specific conversation about what you have militarily to accomplish that.
How do you categorize this mission, sir? Is it a humanitarian mission?
Well, I think it's hard to say. I would categorize it in this way. I think it's clear what we're trying to do. What we're trying to do is prevent Gaddafi from killing more of his own people, to try to stop that from happening. And I think that is a very worthy goal. And I think that's the reason the international community generated such pressure at the UN, at NATO, and with us to try to take action to make that happen. The problem is, it's not an easy thing to do.
Now, if that's the case, though, to take action where people are being killed by their own government. Right. I mean, just to synopsize what you've said. What is the difference between Libya and what's happening in Yemen and Bahrain?
I think that's an outstanding question. I think that's one that has not yet been clearly answered. Why are we intervening here? I mean, look, I think what's going on in Libya right now points up a very, very big problem with our overall foreign policy and national security posture. There is an expectation in the world that if something is going wrong, wherever it is, that somehow the U.S. has the power to fix it. While at the same time, there is also considerable anger and frustration when we step in and try to fix it because of the cost involved with that. I think we need a clearer understanding of what the policy is that we're advancing in Libya, and more importantly, what the policy is going to be going forward in terms of when we use military force. There are humanitarian... Sorry.
No, I'm sorry. And to that end, has the U.S. defined a goal for this mission that you are comfortable with?
They have defined a goal. Clearly, it is to stop the civilian casualties that are occurring in Libya. I am comfortable with that. What I'm not comfortable with is the clear line between that and what actions we can take to bring about that goal. And that's what I was going to say about, there's a whole bunch of humanitarian crises in many different parts of the world where this is happening. But what people tend to miss is the limitation on the ability of military force to step in and bring about peaceful conclusions to these things. It's just never as clean and easy as it looks when you're imagining it. When you're concerned about the casualties and the violence that is happening in Libya, you want to make it stop, and I understand that. It's just not an easy thing to do.
Do you think that military action should be taken when there is no apparent national security concern, or are we missing something here in Libya? Is there a national security concern?
Well, I think that there is obviously a national security concern in overall stability in the region, but I don't think we can fairly categorize this action as something being done because this is primary to U.S. national security interests. But I do think there is a place for us to use whatever force or ability or diplomatic power we have to halt or reduce a humanitarian crisis. I think that is a legitimate goal and a legitimate aim, to look at a situation and say that there is violence going on that is causing, death, starvation, problems for people. And if there's something we can do to fix that, then yes, I think we should look at that. But again, we have to be mindful of how tough it is to step in those situations and to fix it.
Do you see this as being a new Obama doctrine, a tipping point for military action being put towards a growing humanitarian crisis?
It has that potential.